Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome once again to Kardec Radio. I am Correa, and we gather together right here on this beautiful platforms at 9 p.m. every Tuesday Eastern Standard Time to boost our immortal, ever-growing wisdom through an effort to study the divine laws together. Right, soul souls? Big hug to you, beautiful friend. We feel the love, and the love feels good. And may everyone joining us, either now or on demand, feel enveloped by God's infinite and unconditional love. After all, it is because of this universal envelopment in God's love that we have access to God's divine laws. It is precisely because our Mother, Father God wishes for us to co-create for the good by aligning ourselves with divine wisdom that God has allowed the promised consoler to be codified by Allan Kardec under the commands of Jesus Christ our Master, in order for us to be all the more conscious of God's laws. The more we consciously, dear friends, align ourselves with God's laws, the happier we become. But we don't experience this passing happiness that is attached to temporary situations, but rather we experience a sense of inner serenity, of inner contentment that is imperturbable. This is why our beloved Master, Christ Jesus, was able to undergo the harshest privations while elevating his hearts and thoughts to God, even thanking God for the cross that he literally carried, because he is a being that is already aligned with the divine laws and thus is able to exude serenity. Now we may be wondering, how about us, Carol? Are we destined to also learn to exude serenity and inner contentment? Yes, beloved friends, we are, because we are all destined to become pure spirits like the Christ. This is why he is our guide and model, so we can aspire to reach his level of evolution, and this is also why we study together. So welcome to our joint effort to nourish our souls for immortality. Tonight, the focus of our study is on questions 860 and 861 of the Spirit's Book as codified by Allan Kardec. If you would like to follow along, these are the questions for your reference. And please, beloved friends, this is a forum for all of us, provided by Kardec Radio. So feel free to write comments, ask questions, participate with your vibrations in whatever way you feel most comfortable. Thank you for the gift of your presence. And now we shall begin. In question 860, Kardec asks the elevated spirits, can humans, through their own will and efforts, avoid events that were to occur, and vice versa? Excellent question. We love Kardec because, as a brilliant mind, he, more than 100 years ago, could already predict the questions that would be in the back of our minds. And luckily, he had the wherewithal to ask the questions, and now we can learn together with the answer. The mentor spirits answer, yes, they can, if this apparent deviation fits into the general order of the life that they have chosen. Furthermore, in doing good, their duty and the sole purpose of life, they can prevent evil, especially that which might contribute to a still greater evil. So now, dear friends, we have the confirmation that we are co-creators for the good. This is why Master Jesus has affirmed to us all that only good covers and only God covers a multitude of less happy choices that we may have made in the past. So, once again, if we are looking to align ourselves with the Christ proposal for all of our lives, then we shall seek the good, think the good, visualize the good, feel the good, and mold the good with all the resources that we have at hand. We may be wondering, but Carol, how to do so in the difficult, unprecedented circumstances which we are faced right now, given the scenario that we're currently in, a global pandemic. Well, we shall learn to seek the good and co create the good by searching, actively searching for the good. A good result of the pandemic, for instance, dear friends, is that channels of the good throughout the world, like Kardec Radio, are multiplying. Another beautiful consequence of the pandemic is that now the Spirit Center is coming inside of our homes, and all of the ones, incarnate and discarnate alike, that were and are in our networks are having the opportunity to instruct themselves and learn for immortality. So the radius of the good is expanding like never before. And thank goodness for the internet, because we can cross over the world, though we are in isolation, in a matter of seconds. And due to social media, we can, dear friends, literally by using our fingertips, spread words of optimism, spread the good, send a note of encouragement, send vibrations of encouragement. Now we can literally spread messages of hope almost as quickly as we can think of them, because of social media and of the internet. Can you imagine? Can we imagine what the scenario that we're currently in would be like if we were not able to do the good through these instruments? So God is so merciful that though the pandemic did materialize, and though we are practicing physical isolation for the general good, God has given us so many tools that we feel in some ways, more connected to one another than we ever were before. So God is counting on you and I, on all of us, to write the good, to read the good, to speak the good, to listen to the good, to actively find the good in our lives, because as we do so, we help with the vibrational equilibrium, harmony of the earth. Have we thought about the fact that as many brothers and sisters of ours discarnate, go on to the other side of life? Many of them may wish for one more moment, for one more word, for one more thought, and we are immersed. Those of us who are healthy and incarnated are immersed in a wealth of minutes, of hours, of opportunities to really spread the good and feel the good. So right now we can be grateful that we are incarnated. Being incarnated is a treasure, is a talent, is a sign of love from God. We are having the moments right now that many wish they had and may not, because it's time for them to transition. So how fortunate are we? Many may be wishing at this very moment to be able to articulate words. And here we are, articulating a wealth of words, giving praise to God for God's wisdom. Many may be wishing exactly at this moment to be able to articulate a clear train of thought, dear friends, but because they may be under very difficult physical circumstances, they are not able to connect their own thoughts together. And here we are, being able to have the luxury to study the laws of God together, right, Souza? So we have the opportunity to do so much good. Right now, we have the fortunate luxury to be in the comfort of our homes. Yes, we are in isolation, but have we stopped to think about how many wished they had one more day in their homes? Yes, we are tired of the pandemic. It's only natural because it is an endurance test for humanity. However, we have so much. Many of us have a comfortable bed to lay on, while others are in a hospital bed struggling to breathe. Many of us may be able to work from home, while others cannot even use the restroom because they are frontline workers and they can't stop treating others for their own sake. So we are so fortunate that we can, as the question and answer 860 proposes, avoid evil, change the course of our lives by choosing to seek the good. So, right now, if we have the talent, the wealth of health, we are able to seek the good. Right now, if we are able, if we have the talent of articulating our thinking, we are able to think of the good. Right now, if we have the comfort of a peaceful physical dwelling, we can find the good in it. Right now, if we have the blessing of being connected to family, even if through the internet, to friends like Sol Souza and myself and all of us, through the gift of a platform such as this. We are blessed because how many wished would give everything to have exactly this moment that we are cherishing right now. So here's a proposal, dear friends, from the mentors of Kardec Radio to all of us, ourselves included. Let us count our blessings. Let us believe that we are going to get through these challenging moments, this endurance test together. Let us collaborate with God by co-creating vibrations of gratitude and harmony, because we know that life is never ending. We know that though the physical life is passing, God's love is not. We know that even though we may be in physical isolation, there are literally illuminated, loving hearts watching over us. We know that we can nourish our souls together, though in isolation, just by choosing to turn on Kardec Radio or any other platform of the good. We know that through our fingertips we can spread the good in 1 second throughout the world using social media for the good. So let us please, dear friends, believe that the good shall prevail and that these moments of great challenge shall pass. If we do this mental, emotional, spiritual exercise together daily, then we are contributing to the harmony of the earth. And as we contribute to the harmony of the earth, one little heart at a time, starting with our own, then we are contributing to the healing of the planet, the healing of this pandemic, and the healing within. So we are all being called tonight to be frontline workers of the Doctor of all souls, Master Jesus. The hospital for which we work is called Planet Earth, and we are being called to be on duty tonight and hold the light of hope in our own hearts, not allowing it to extinguish. In this way, we contribute to the economy of the good, no longer to the economy of evil. As we learn in question 860, we can replace or co-create the good. It is our choice. Let us choose the good, right, Sol Souza? Sol Souza is saying that she is very thankful to God for the opportunity to study online. Yes, Kardec Radio is truly a blessing, right, dear friend? And we here are super grateful that we can join forces for the good together. Thank you, beloved soul. You are sunshine, as your very name shows us. And Luiz Seixas Torres Filho, welcome to Kardec Radio, dear friend. And yes, beautiful reminder summarizing what the mentors of Kardec Radio are proposing to us beautifully. Thank you, Luis. You are reminding us that Paul of Tarsus has said, in everything, give thanks. We who have the light of discernment, the light of faith in our hands and in our hearts, are being called to be Jesus's frontline workers. And we can be Jesus's frontline workers by holding the light of hope, by believing that this too shall pass, in the words of Mother Mary, and by being joy of living. We shall do this together, right, dear friends? Thank you, Luis. Beautiful comment and beautiful reminder for all of us. Thank you so much. Now, dear friends, we are going to read and study our last question of tonight. Question 861, in which Kardec asks, upon choosing their existence, do those who commit a murder know at the time that they would become murderers? Excellent question. Fortunately for us, we have a very direct answer here from the mentor spirits working under the Christ. They explain, no, murderers are not meant to be murderers. No, they only know that in choosing a life of struggle, they will incur the probability of killing one of their fellow beings, but they do not know if they will actually do so or not. Murderers will almost always deliberate in their minds before committing the crime. And those who deliberate about something are always free to do it or not. If spirits knew beforehand that as individuals they would have to commit a murder, it would mean that they were predestined to do so. However, you should be very clear about the fact that no one is ever predestined to commit a crime, and that every crime, like any and every other act, is always the result of volition and free will. Moreover, you always confuse two very distinct things: the material events of existence and the moral acts of life. If there is sometimes fatalism, it only applies to material events where the cause is outside of you and independent of your will. As for the acts of moral life, they always emanate from the individual, him or herself, who therefore always has the freedom to choose. There is never fatalism in such an act. Beautiful answer from the mentor spirits. We now have the confirmation, dear friends, that we are indeed co-creators and that there are no victims in life, because we are all responsible for our very own actions. Thus, if we incur in a crime, be it recognized by human law or only by divine law, we did so out of our own free will. And at times when we are incarnated, we are under the heavy influence of the material environment around us, and we are very good at finding excuses for ourselves. So we may say, oh, we started drinking alcohol because our father did so, so we were doomed to follow our father or mother or parents' footsteps. Oh, we watch pornography because everyone else in our circle of friends does it, so we shall do it as well in order not to be out of the friend circle. So we find excuses, we find loopholes in our logic sometimes when we are incarnated in order to push the responsibility for our actions onto someone else. But through Spiritism, we learn that we are very responsible for our own choices, that no one forces us to take a particular avenue or not. If we look, for instance, at Chico Xavier as an example, we know that as a child he was abused. He exposed his fragile body to mistreatment on the part of his godmother when he was only 5 years of age physically. He suffered immensely. Even his own nephew accused him falsely of committing a crime. However, Chico Xavier, despite the very difficult circumstances he faced, even having his own mother discarnate when he was only 5 years old, did not lead him to become an alcoholic, to become addicted to pornography, for instance, to become addicted to drugs, or to enter the blame game and find opportunities to transfer responsibility for the difficulties he had in life towards someone else. No, dear friends. Chico Xavier stood strong, and he understood that in every painful circumstances there were lessons and blessings to be learned. As he was being abused physically at 5 or 6 or 7 years of age by his godmother, his mother, though discarnate, appeared to Chico Xavier to say, "In everything give thanks," as Luiz Seixas Torres Filho reminded us. In everything give thanks, Chico, because through this hardship you are learning to have discipline, and discipline will be useful to you when you become an adult so you can fulfill your tasks. So Chico Xavier is a very good example for us to think of and to take to heart, literally. Paulo de Tarso, Paul of Tarsus, as mentioned by Luiz Seixas, is another example. Though he committed murder in that particular lifetime, he literally had an encounter with the Christ and had a change of heart that was so dramatic that he no longer sought to make victims. He no longer sought to make himself a victim of the circumstances either. He took responsibility for his erroneous actions, and he embraced Christianism at a time when he was looked down upon, at a point that was so severe that he put his life at risk in many circumstances. He was almost stoned to death several times because he stood for the truth, he stood for the good, he stood for what was right, even though he knew that he himself had been responsible for several murders previously. So if we take to heart the responsibility of our actions, every day we have the opportunity to begin anew. So here's a question for us. Have we awakened to the fact that we are not victims? And have we, by chance, murdered on different levels? Murdered, for instance, the reputation of others. Murdered, for instance, the courage of others. Murder, for instance, others' joy of living by being the voice of pessimism, by giving in to gossip and slander. Have we tonight Through question 861, we are being called to examine our own inner recesses of our souls and come to understand how we are contributing or not to the harmonious state, to the spiritual growth of those who surround us and for whom we are either directly or indirectly responsible. Otherwise, life through God, God through life would not have united us. So, how are we contributing towards our own progress and the progress of others? Are we being joyful, life giving, or are we being pessimistic, taking everyone else's life forces away? Now we know that it is our responsibility to choose the good, not only for ourselves, but for others. So let us meditate and choose to be life giving, life supporting, co creators of the good, with God, for God, and through God always. And yes, also, thank you for this beautiful reminder. There is a movie that showcases the life of Chico Xavier and how he never saw himself like a victim, overcoming every difficult circumstances with faith and joy of living. And so Souza is reminding us that she has watched the movie, and in the movie we get a clear message: discipline, discipline, discipline. Let us then discipline our spiritual and emotional life for the good, seeking the good, visualizing the good, feeling the good, multiplying the good, and being life supporting towards everyone. Shall we, dear friends? So thank you for the blessing of us learning together. Let us stay faithful and let us stay focused on the good always. And we wish everyone a very beautiful evening with God in our hearts. Thank you for the beautiful messages. Let us all keep co-creating the good, dear friends, because we are frontliners and frontline workers of the Master. This is why we are reincarnated. Many blessings to everyone, and please stay tuned right here on Kardec Radio when we are always nourishing our souls. We'll see you next time, dear friends, and many beautiful blessings always.